Welcome to the Restricted Handling Podcast. This is what's been going on in China in the past 24 hours. Over the weekend, Beijing confirmed investigations into Zhang Youxia and Zhenli, and today's update isn't that the purge happened. It's what's becoming clearer about its scope and consequences. Zhang Youxia wasn't just another senior officer. He was the highest-ranking uniformed member of the People's Liberation Army, vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, a Politburo figure, and one of the very few PLA generals with actual combat experience. He also had long-standing personal ties to Xi Jinping. The fact that this guy is gone tells us the circle of trust has shrunk dramatically. As of now, the Central Military Commission, which normally has around 7 members, is effectively down to Xi and the head of the discipline apparatus. That's not a governing body. That's a command node. What's new today is the language Beijing is using. State media isn't just talking about corruption. It's accusing Zhang and Liu of undermining the CMC chairman responsibility system and damaging combat capability. That's an operational accusation. It suggests dissatisfaction not just with loyalty, but with delivery, training timelines, readiness, execution. This matters because January is when the PLA kicks off its annual training cycle, and it's also the first year of the new 5-year plan. If there were disagreements over pace or priorities, this is exactly when they would surface, and exactly when Xi would act. While this internal shakeup is still unfolding, external pressure hasn't eased. Taiwan reported several PLA aircraft crossing the median line of the Taiwan Strait this week, along with planned vessels operating around the island. This isn't a dramatic spike compared to what we've discussed before, but it is consistent. Fighters, bombers, early warning aircraft, same cast, same script, steady tempo. If yesterday's conversation was about normalization, today's update is continuity. Nothing flashy, nothing accidental. Further south, the US and the Philippines conducted another joint drill at Scarborough Shoal. This is the 11th such exercise since late 2023, which is notable in itself. The U.S. deployed a guided missile destroyer that had transited the Taiwan Strait just 2 weeks earlier, and Manila brought a frigate and Coast Guard assets. Beijing responded with the usual rhetoric about outside forces and announced routine patrols. The update here isn't escalation, it's repetition with intent. Everyone involved knows the choreography, and everyone keeps showing up. Japan, meanwhile, is doing something quieter, and that's the update worth noting. Tokyo has begun urging fishermen to stay away from the Senkaku Islands. For years, fishing activity there was tolerated as a way to demonstrate control. Now officials appear more concerned about risk management than signaling. Chinese Coast Guard vessels were present near those islands on a record number of days last year, and the fear is that one detention or inspection could spiral quickly. This is a subtle shift, but an important one. De-escalation through restraint rather than confrontation. Zooming out, the diplomatic picture keeps evolving. If yesterday we talked about allies hedging, today we're seeing more texture. Britain's Prime Minister is in Beijing this week, the first UK leader to visit in 8 years, openly saying he won't choose between the US and China. That's not rhetoric you would have heard comfortably a few years ago. The delegation includes senior finance and trade officials and business leaders, and it follows London's approval of a new Chinese embassy despite domestic security objections. Canada's situation has also sharpened. Ottawa finalized tariff reductions on Chinese electric vehicles and secured better terms for its canola oil exports. President Trump responded with threats of 100% tariffs if Canada deepens trade ties with China. Canadian officials insist there's no free trade deal in the works, but the signal is clear. Middle powers are trying to diversify, and Washington is pushing back hard. The update here is tone. This is no longer hypothetical friction. It's openly transactional. Germany fits into this pattern too. German companies significantly increased investment in China last year, hitting a multi-year high. The reason isn't enthusiasm, it's hedging. Firms are localizing supply chains to protect themselves from trade volatility. This doesn't mean Europe is pivoting toward Beijing politically, but economically, the gravity is still there. China is also leaning into diplomacy to reinforce its preferred narrative. Xi met Finland's prime minister this week, talking about a multipolar international system and cooperation in areas like energy and the Arctic. The Arctic piece keeps popping up, and for good reason. As ice recedes, shipping routes open, undersea infrastructure becomes more valuable, and suddenly countries like Finland, now in NATO, are central players. China calling itself a near-Arctic state is still a stretch, but it's a stretch they keep making. Economically, there are incremental shifts worth flagging. China reported a modest rise in industrial profits last year, the first annual increase since 2021. This was driven by exports and government pressure to stop destructive price wars in sectors like autos and solar. At the same time, Africa has flipped from being a net recipient of Chinese financing to a net payer. Debt repayments now exceed new loans. That's not Beijing retreating, it's Beijing collecting. Multilateral institutions are stepping in to fill gaps, but China's leverage remains embedded. On energy and climate, there's a quieter update. China and India both reduced power sector emissions last year, the first time that's happened simultaneously in over 5 decades. This came from aggressive clean energy deployment. Meanwhile, U.S. power sector emissions rose due to increased coal use. No analysis here, just a notable data point in the broader global picture. Inside China, the security tone continues to harden. The Ministry of State Security warned this week that foreign entities are using academic cooperation to steal biological samples and genetic data. Biotechnology, genetics, population data, this is all being framed as national security now. The message is directed inward. Collaborate carefully, document everything, and assume scrutiny. It's another example of how domains once considered civilian are being pulled firmly into the security sphere. In Southeast Asia, we saw a small but symbolic move. A U.S. Navy littoral combat ship docked at Cambodia's Ream Naval Base, the same base China helped upgrade and uses for its own presence. Cambodian officials say the port is open to all partners. The update here isn't confrontation, it's signaling. Quiet, deliberate, and meant to be noticed without making a speech. And finally, a quick update on Iran, because rumors moved faster than facts this week. Claims circulated online that China had flown military cargo aircraft into Iran with advanced weapons. U.S. officials pushed back firmly, saying no such airlift occurred. What is happening remains more subtle. China continues providing dual-use technology and systems that help Iran sustain capabilities without crossing thresholds that would trigger direct intervention. It's support without rescue, consistent, cautious, and calibrated. Thanks for listening and being part of the RH community. Please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. If you want to see some changes, email us at info@restrictedhandling.com. We also publish a daily written intel brief on Substack, where you'll find even deeper coverage of Russia and China, along with insights on Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK.